36-dimensional spaces. Xiefeng. According to the level of the life mass energy of matters and antimatters, there are 36 dimensions in the spaces. They are, colorless space, double color space, mortal world, cause-effect space, between yin and yang space, human celestial being space, proton space, photon space, light speed circle, super light space circle, molecule world, micro world, law world, retention information space, super time space, macro world, time tunnel, holographic order world, zero world, heaven world, Elysium world, cathode black hole body, 10,000-year world, 1,000-year world, dream world, anode black hole world, livestock world, animal world, plant world, insect world, bacteria world, landscape and climate world, hell world, frozen layer and inflamed world. One-dimensional space. See colorless space. It is a space where we can see the size, form or color of the objects. Living in this space, we are just like the blind. The polar nights or the polar rights belong to the colorless space. The Taiji space before the universe is born is a one-dimensional space. For the humans, the anti-world is a one-dimensional space. All the antimatters are one-dimensional in nature. That's why we can see the consciousness, thinking, soul, Buddha, celestial being, Tao, law, heaven world, Elysium world, dream world, hell world, frozen layer or inflamed layer. From the perspective of the one-dimensional space of the antimatters, all of us human beings are the blind people. We can see things in the space just like the blind people who can see the beautiful flowers and other things in this world. We see nothing and have on knowledge of the antimatter one-dimensional space. Two-dimensional space, the double color space. In this space, the objects have sizes and forms. But they only have the light and shade colors. For instance, the achromatopsia people live in the double color space. The scenes in the hell world, frozen layer and inflamed layer are just like the images in black and white TV with only light and shade colors. If one person judges things only by good and bad, true and false, good and evil, and beauty and ugly, instead of seeing the bad and the good and the bad, the false and the true and the false, the good and the evil and the good, the beauty and the ugly and the beauty, the static and the dynamic and the static, his thinking would be the achromatopsia thinking, and he actually lives in the two-dimensional world. The space which only has the direct lines without curves, and the direct lines have no obliquity from the perspective of either primary vision, overlook or sectional view is the two-dimensional space. Three-dimensional space. See mortal world. In this space substances have forms and sizes are rich in colors. The space is constantly changing. The mortal world is a three-dimensional space. 98% of the human population and most of the animals, except the birds, live in this space. The three-dimensional space is a knotless space. The movement of all matters is a knotless line, just like a rope fastened to a person's foot. No matter how many turns he or she makes, no matter which direction he or she goes, though the rope has many twists or pile into a geometric pattern, it will become a straight when we pull the two ends of it. And there is no knot in this line. The three-dimensional space is a relatively simple and V space. It is a space where we live without making efforts. A with diaresis, O 1/4 A, superscript 1 U 1/4 A. Four-dimensional space, the karma space. It is the thinking space where we can know the karma relationship. The human beings walk in the three-dimensional space while the birds fly in the four-dimensional space. The flight route of the birds can have knots. So the four-dimensional space is the knotted space. From the perspective of the three-dimensional space, we can only see the part of the tree above the ground. However, from the perspective of the four-dimensional space, we can see the tree roots under the ground. Based on the material changes in the mortal world, we can see through the phenomenon and detect the essence of things, the relationship between them, the interactive bridges, and the causes of the changes. We can also see through a certain phenomenon and find the future results. We can know the principle of quantitative and qualitative changes. We know how to achieve balance. We can find the truth out of the routine phenomena. We can find the thinking space of the laws. For instance, we can perceive the universal gravitation when seeing the apple falling to the ground. We can think about the movement rules and direction of the universe when seeing the vine growing in spirals. We can reach the knowledge about the terrestrial magnetism and ocean currents when we see the swirls formed by releasing the water out of the bathtub. We can know the function of the motion power when we see the kettle lid jumping as the water boils. We can perceive the irrigation and power generation when seeing the wind and tides. We can know about the disease and disease-spreading ways when we see the bacteria under the microscope. We can get the mystery of the genes when we see the different forms of the objects. We can conclude the life origin from the gene invariants and genetic features. We can know about a person's health and personality when see his complexion and face. We can predict a person's future success or failure when seeing his behaviors and listening to his words. We can see the rise and fall of a dynasty by observing the dedication of the government officials and the mentality of the civilians. Those living in the four-dimensional space include the greatest scientists such as Newton, Einstein, Stephen Hawking, Euclid, Copernicus, Mendel, Heisenberg, Kepler, Dalton, Röntgen, Mendeleev, Planck, Pasteur, the political leaders such as Washington, Mao Zedong, Constantine the Great, Peter the Great, Toyotomi Hideyoshi, Augustus, and Caesar, the musicians such as Beethoven, Handel and Bach, the philosophers such as Aristotle, Plato, and Bacon. Five-dimensional between yin and yang space. It is the rim space in the crossing between the matters and antimatters and between the space and the negative space. Three types of people find it easy to enter this space. The first type is the specialists in a field. When one person is addicted to or reaches the peak in the study of one issue or one thing, he feels, though not very clearly, the existence of supermaterials. Sometimes he feels he can find the interconnection bonds between the things in the actual world. Sometimes he feels that something happens in an incredible way. For instance, why the people who have dug the tombs of the Egyptian pharaoh die a natural death? Why did one of the twins feel worried at the same moment when his brother died from the traffic accident thousands of miles away? Why could the girl called Shanti Devi born in Delhi of India in 1926 tell exactly the things in her former cycle of life, which proved to be true? Why was the coffin of famous American actor Charles Cleveland, who died in 1899 and buried in Galveston of Texas, brought into the sea by the tides, floating 28 years and 3,000 kilometers before reaching his hometown, the Prince Edward Island? These things have made him feel that the things he used to study were much too trivial and insignificant. He still can tell what is true and what is false when faced with the matters and antimatters. All things seem to the reality and the fantasy at the same time. If his flesh body dies now, his spiritual body will be in the state of puzzlement. Though his flesh body has died, the spiritual body of his can find the way out and can only roam in the edgy place when the material world is connected with the non-material world. The second type is those who practice or improve himself blindly. Due to the wrong method, too much hurry, old age, or bad health, the spiritual body after the death of the flesh body can only drift in the connection place of the yin and yang worlds. The third type is those who feel like getting into the unnecessary end or those who died suddenly at their golden age. Because they are not well prepared for death and still long for the material world, they are not willing to be brought to another world by the sudden death. Some of their wishes haven't been realized and they are reluctant to leave the material world. However, because their flesh bodies are dead, the spiritual bodies have no carrier and can only roam for a certain time in the connection space between yin and yang worlds. Some cases of spirit possession are caused by their spiritual bodies. The people who are not willing to die would stay in this space. In the rural areas, the monks or yin-yang masters will help to release the souls of the dead people. The ceremony is just to comfort them, encourage and persuade them to enter the yin world and forget about the things in the yang world. Six-dimensional space, the humans and celestial beings world. This space is where the people having got out of the material world constraint live. When a person's belief is perfect innocent and he or she is not seduced by the worldly materials, they just look the same with the average people. But their inner part has been changed. They have known the negative universe is the origin of the matters, everything in the three-dimensional world is simply the fantasy, the worldly people will get nothing even if they are busy working and struggling all the time, the people will end up in a dream and they are ignorant. The people in this space have to work to get something. They work for pleasure, not means of making a living. They have known the Holy Spirit, Buddhism and Taoism. They know how to make use of the energy in the negative universe to serve them. Basically they can make achievement by thinking about them. So they are free of the worries and live an unloaded life. Except for the human celestial beings whose flesh bodies are still alive because of their self-refinery and self-improvement, the few mages, Taoists, Christians, Buddhists, Muslims, and the believer of other regions can also enter this space. 7-dimensional space, the proton world. This is a space where the proton can be seen. The proton is one of the elementary particles forming the nucleus of the atoms. It has the positive electron. Its electricity is equal to the electron, but the mass is 1,836 times of that in the electron. In this space, the people can have the perspective as far as their eyesight can reach. It seems that the people are wearing the infrared glasses and can see what is behind a certain object. For instance, they can see the jewels and gold under the ground. They can see the people's inner organs. They can see the flowing water under the ground. In the three-dimensional world, the people can only see the branches, leaves and fruits. However, the people in the proton world can see the worms climbing on the tree. The beauties in the eyes of the three-dimensional world are simply skeletons in the eyes of the people in the proton world. 8-dimensional space, the photon world. It is the space where the rays are beyond the 400 to 700 mm wavelengths. The photon is the elementary particle of the light. It has certain energy, which changes to the wavelengths. The shorter the wavelength is, the more energy it has. Many lights are invisible to the human eyes. Only those who have certain level of energy can see them. In this space, the people can have the perspective farther than their eyesight range. They can see through the substances with high density, strength and energy. The objects will not show up in their original forms. Instead, they will show up in the form of light in different colors. The substances with low density, strength and energy are invisible just like the molecule in the air. The worldly people busy in the world are just clusters of light-moving molecules. On the contrary, the self-improving people will emit the visible light with different colors based on the strength of their composure and psychokinesis. 9-dimensional space, the light speed circle. The space where the light can reach within 1 second is called the light speed circle. The people in this space can have the remote viewing of things in the distance where the light will reach in 1 second. For instance, though the person is in Africa, he can clearly see his family members living in Asia. All the people living within the scope of 1 second light traveling can be seen by the people in the light speed circle. EI-014A, superscript 3 superscript 1 AUE. 10-dimensional space, the super light speed circle. The space where the light cannot reach within 1 second is called the light speed circle. The people in this circle can have the trans-space remote viewing. They can see all the scenes beyond the Milky Way system and the Rotary River system, in particular the life situation of the celestial beings in the 1,000-year world and 10,000-year world. 11-dimensional space, the molecule world. It is a space where the thinking energy of the nature shown by the molecules can be seen. The molecule is the smallest particle that can regain the chemical attributes of the original substances and can exist independently. The people in this space can see the nature of each type of molecules. For instance, the blood of an average people in the eyes of the worldly people is seen by the people living in the molecule world as a fully grown person who has his look and personality. If there are 2 drops of blood with 1 drop belonging to a dog and the other to a cow, we ordinary people cannot tell which is dog and which is cow. However, the people living in the molecule world can judge them. They even know the form of the grass by seeing the grass seed. 12-dimensional space, the micro world. It is a space where people can ride a horse in the nanometer space. The tiny particle seen by an ordinary person in the microscope is a large universe system in the eyes of the people living in the micro world, which includes the sun, mountains, rivers, animals, plants, and the park residences for the people. They can build thousands of beautiful villages on a grain of sand. 13-dimensional space, the law world. It is a space where the people can see the energy which causes the matters to change, for instance, the energy that drives the combination of the sperm and egg which later grow into a perfect body. The people in the law world can only see the energy flow. The magnetic line of force, the rays of all kinds and the waves of all kinds are energy flows. They know very clear which place has good or bad feng shui, and who has strong or weak life power. 14-dimensional space, the detention information space. It is the space where the information will stay without diffusion in a short time. Any motion of the matters will leave the information that will not disappear in a short time behind them. All the matters are just like the degree photographic films, plus or minus, able to record correctly what has happened around them. The detention information space refers to the space which is able to show what has happened. Some police dogs can trace the whereabouts of the people by following the smell they have left days or even months ago. The people with the Buddha eyes can, according to the detention information left by the object's movement, show what happened, for instance, 10 years ago. For example, the room has been the venue of the murdering cases, how it happened, and who the murderer was. 15-dimensional space, the super-time world. It is a space where the people can get rid of the time constraint, follow the time numerical axis and see what will happen or what has happened in a certain place in the future or in the past. For instance, the scenes in the beginnings of universe origin, human origin and life origin, the scenes where the dinosaurs were dominating the earth, the scenes of Adam and Eve living in the Eden, the scenes of the Great Flood in Noah's time, or the life scenes when the earth is controlled by the bio-robots in the future. 16-dimensional space, the macro world. The big universe is the macro world. For the people living in the macro world, the Earth universe where we are is just a particle, the solar system is simply a molecule, the sun is the nucleus, the Earth, the Mercury, the Mars and other 6 planets are just the electrons revolving around the nucleus. EAESSI, 0.1/4 A, plus or minus 1/4 AEIA. 17-dimensional space, the time tunnel. The time network composed of the negative and positive time and dotted the universe space is called the time tunnel. The time tunnel runs through all tangible objects. Each celestial body has its own time tunnel and each person has it, too. Once entering the time tunnel, the time no longer goes ahead like the ticking clock. Instead, the time is fixed and static. It is not like the calendar watch showing the past and future. Instead, the time has become the numerical axis with the 2 ends extending limitlessly. You can choose to live on any point. For example, you can choose to live in the times of dinosaurs, or live in the era when the current human order has been changed to experience the life at that time. 18-dimensional space, the space tunnel. The passage connecting the 36-dimensional spaces is called the space tunnel. For instance, after the flesh body dies in the mortal world, the spiritual body has to pass the space tunnel first before it enters the upper worlds, such as the 1000-year world, or the lower world, such as the animal world. If the angels from the heaven world go to the mortal world for inspection, they have to pass the space tunnel before reaching the mortal world. All the materials in the space tunnel are the antimatters. All the antimatters in the space tunnel move at the rate of the negative universe speed. All the space tunnels pass by the 3-world 2-way continent in the Elysium world. That is to say, the 3-world 2-way continent is the hub of all the space tunnels. The above-mentioned 18-dimensional worlds all are related to the humans. They are the middle worlds of the life activities. When the human guess science reaches a certain level, they will have sufficient ability to enter either of the above spaces with the help of instruments. The following 18-dimensional worlds will be the spaces which can never be reached by science. The major target of Lifechanyuan is to guide the people to the higher spaces of life. So I will focus on describing and explaining the 1,000-year world, 10,000-year world and the Elysium world.